Hey guys, I am Brian and this is Bryn Dialogues. Olwaleero tugenda kikola nga kiri different. For a long time mbadde ndi mu kwebuuza abaana ngenda ba inviting atya ku channel. So kati kye nakoze badde balina debate badde balina debate kati nensalawo ne ngenda gye bali basange wawe bali Africano bakola debate zino eno. Olwaleero bakoze debate nga involving abazadde batumiza abazadde nga babuuza ekibuuzo, is it better to parent the African way? Kati abaana nga bagamba no, abazadde nga bagamba it's the only way to go. Ensalo ngamba nti audience yakangireete tumujje mu debate, so obutabalwisaawo tutandike.
I stand here to propose the motion. As you said, it's better to raise children in the African way. So without further ado, I'll give you some of my major points, in my opinion. I believe that it's better to raise kids that way because, and I'm going to elaborate and throw some light on this. Raising children that way is something most cultures, many cultures actually stand against, and they think maybe, and even some of our children, they think it's just parenting with an iron hand, or just not loving the children enough, or just parents wanting to give unnecessary disciplinary actions, which I really disagree with. The aim of the African way of parenting is to correct bad behavior, but not hurt children. And you can look at it as parenting and teaching with actions and reality, instead of talks and dialogues, which sometimes don't work. Parenting, the African way focuses more on nurturing ways of life that prepare a child to face the outside world with strength, courage, resilience, humility, and value for community, and the will to be a team player in all areas. It emphasizes sharing resources and knowledge, and encourage love and empathy and support for each other among us families, neighborhoods, and the community as a whole. All those values I just talked about, if you don't practice them, but we live them. If we bring them like the African way, they are lived. They become eventually what the adults we want to be. They live them, and it makes them the adults that they are going to be. We used to share bedrooms with our siblings, respect elders, help in chores, babysitting little ones at home without complaint. All those are life lessons in themselves, which make kids grow up with responsibility without individualism we see these days. And it affects people if children don't grow up like that. That's why we end up with the consequences of leaders who just think about themselves. That's individualism, because they're not used to sharing and resources and knowledge. They become entitled to the extent of not even being able to live peacefully with other people as adults. Children also need to learn that bad actions come with consequences. This way they get to understand that disciplinary actions are meant to teach them, not to hurt them. Also, if when they go out in the world without the... Thank you. I hope you are all convinced that bringing up children the African way is the best way to parent. Thank you for listening.
The proposing team is starting off strong. Do you guys have fire to debate that? Yes. Okay, we'll have the first team from the opposing. Round of applause, please. All right, you guys are in trouble. The opposing team has an opening statement before they state their points. So.
Good afternoon, everyone. Fellow opposers, and proposers, audience at large. My name is Isabella T. Today, my team and I will convince to you that African parenting is not better. Take a moment to imagine your parents. We all come from African parenting households, which means we all know the trauma and pain that comes from raising children. Do you really want to continue that same pain and trauma to your young children? Think about that throughout this debate as my team convinces you and shows you the reality of having African parents. I yield my time to my team.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tendo. Good afternoon to the chair, to the audience, the proposers and the opposers. And one thing that I can say about all parents, that what they have in common is that they have like an envision for their kids, something they want their kids to have, whether it be knowledge, talent, obedience, general exemplary behavior and traits. But arguably one of the most, if not the most important, is the favorable or prosperous termination of attempts or endeavors, the accomplishment of one's goals regarding an aim or purpose. All of these represent success in some way, and in my 14 years of life, I've observed both sides, more so the African way of parenting. African parents are often and also not so often supportive of what their child wants to achieve. 84% of children all develop a passion of something that they want to pursue, whether it be a sport, organization, or industry, and only 76% of these actually go on to get obsessed with it and want to continually do it. And the thing about African parents, although they may support it, is that from the second you're born, maybe even before, they have an envision for you. They want you to either be a dancer or a doctor. They want you to work this job at this time. And sometimes they forget that it's your life and they don't put your opinion in there as well, because it's you who goes around 24/7, 365 days a year, living that life. They may tell you what to do, but they don't actually experience it. I yield my time to my team.
Fund of education to the judges. Fund of education to the judges. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to be educated, the current speaker. Was he proposing or opposing? Because to me, I felt like he was one of the parents. And maybe he's supposed to sit this side. Yes. Thank you. Please come join us.
My fellow teammate over here is sitting on the opposing side, therefore he is one of the opposers. As my friend Bella earlier today introduced all of the opposing team, I wish you were paying attention, but we were all introduced as the opposing team. Thank you for your time.
But they've come with statistics, they've come with numbers. So you guys need to bring your facts, numbers. Okay, our next proposer. Step forward, please. Round of applause from the audience.
Thank you, Madam Coordinator, our esteemed judges, the proposers, and of course the opposers. I'm here to support the motion, but I would like to also propose that African way is also known as traditional way of parenting. This is common all over the universe, where you're going to find that in this kind of raising children, emphasis is on respect, and that is going to help you with your character wherever you go. If you want to survive through the struggles and the challenges of life, that's supposed to be one of your virtues, how to deal with leadership, how to respect other people. The other aspect of raising children in African way, it gives you the stamina of the social fabric, how you relate with other people despite of the way they look, their names, their color. So that is also another strong point of raising children in an African way, most so-called the traditional way. There is also another aspect of social counseling and support, which you can't find so much as of today. We see young people collapse on the way because of the problems, and the trauma you mentioned here is more so evident here. But where you find communities work together, there is that social support, and you find people to help you along the way. African way of raising children also comes with virtues of knowing how to handle your emotions. We see a lot of children here, they don't know how to behave, they don't know how to deal with their feelings. They just dish them out unnecessarily, so that means they lack that kind of parenting. So that is another strong point. There is also the aspect of career guidance through the social structure, whereby people refer each other to find where jobs are. There is that connection and networking. There is also the other aspect of identity, which is a big problem as of today. People don't know where their roots come from. The way you're dressed like that, the way why we are here is because of Africano. That suggests there's something very, very vital for us being here and debating about it. Thank you. Your name, all of you have names. Names identify where you come from. I guess all of you know the surnames, so that is a position of identity. And when you come to marriage, I don't know if our opposers will ever get married, but the African way prepares you and it teaches you how to value your marriage. It's not a one day where you get in and tomorrow you say, I want divorce. So all those are values of raising children the African way. The dressing code we talked about, the culture, the dance, the food, everything about African way of raising children, I guess it's so beautiful. And when you consider people that have been raised, they find few challenges of life. They talk about the eating habits, what they eat. There are no junk foods in the African way of raising children. With all those points, thank you so much. And now I yield back to the coordinator.
Wow, this is, man. I'm at a loss of words. I don't even know what to say. For opposers, you have to come strong, because that opponent of yours, hey. Next person from the opposing team, please step forward with your points. And before he starts, I would like the audience to please engage, please show your support for both teams as they're coming up to state their points, so it gives them the motivation.
Good afternoon, fellow judges, opposers, proposers, and audience, and the chairman. And my name is Elijah, and I will oppose the African way of raising children. This is because this will break generational curses externally and internally. We often find that
Yes, the honorable opposer addressed the crowd, starting off as fellow judges, so I'm a little confused. Is he seated with you? Is he seated on the other side? I mean, if it's a mistake, I would kindly ask you give us an extra 30 seconds to learn.
What you have to do right now is just to listen to them. We are noting that, and we will be able to accredit marks. If they call you judges when you're not judges, that's a point lost on their side, so you don't have to worry. Yeah, because right now, they are taught on how to address everybody. So if anybody loses, if anybody calls you a judge or guy or whatever, that is not appropriate, we are taking notes and we're giving marks. So don't worry about it.
give us an extra minute, we'll appreciate it.
No.
But as I was saying, the reason why this will break generational curses, externally and internally, is because oftentimes when being raised by an African parent, they might come off in ways when they discipline you as, oh, you're not doing well enough, or you're not doing to your best of your potential, even though sometimes many people are doing best to their potential, more than exceedingly. And because of this, this might cause them to have a bad relationship with their parents. Having them raised in a different way could open the doors for more strong relationships with their parents and be able to have diversity in the ways they connect with their parents. More so, if they do this, they'll be able to find different outlets to do different things with their parents. Say the average African parent might not want to do certain things with their children all the time because of the way that they're raising them. When you raise them a different way, they're able to then experience and know the other ways of being raised instead of being raised the African way. I yield the rest of my time to my team.
I'd like to start off by replying to what Auntie Grace said over here, saying that they can't thrive in the world without the protection and guidance of an African parent. And what I've noticed is that most of them, like, their goal, like what they dream they have is for them to move from Uganda to America, right? Or from just raising up right here in America. And the thing about being raised the American way is if you're living here, raised the American way, they already understand the situation. They're from here, this is their home, they know how to work it, they know how everything works. But a lot of times you'll find that they come and they're learning the African way, yet they don't even fully understand it themselves. They have their own like predictions about how it is, and they allow that to really cloud their judgment. All right. I yield my time to the chair.
Thank you. We'll have our next opposer to come and state their points, please.
I'm Agnes Bosinje Subuga, and I support the African way of raising children. I'll start with a quote in Proverbs 22, verse 6. Start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. We've been encouraged as we were growing up to start train our children up when they are still little to obey the ways of the Lord, and they will never part from it. It's been encouraged as we were growing up traditionally, and it's hard for a child who has been trained up in the godly ways, as the scripture states. When they grow up, they will stay firm on those truths. You find that as they grow up, you encourage them, you sit them, you have dialogue. It will be easy to have a dialogue with them as we sit on the table. It's been a traditional way of raising our children, and it has benefited many of us, and it will benefit more of our children. And parents, traditional or African ways, we look for opportunities to vest our maturing children with significant responsibilities that impact other people. They can be done by listening to them. We do this by listening to them and helping them to discern between right and wrong. Sometimes we may be different, say it in a different way, but we mean the best for our children, you know. So, and we are always on a dialogue table. You may think we are too strict, but we just love you, and we end up dialoguing with you because we love you to come to a proper conclusion. That's how we raise up our African children. Yes, there is another quotation, Ephesians 6:1. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother. So with these promises, it will go well with you, and you'll enjoy a long life. Our children will enjoy a long life. It's encouraged traditionally to obey our parents. We want, if you get upset, sometimes you may see a situation and your child may not come into dialogue with you. Maybe when they get upset, some may throw cups, some may swear, use different languages. But traditionally, we encourage our children to have a dialogue if you have an issue, so that we can settle things peacefully. Yes, that's how we raise our children as African parents. And even if somebody may be different, we come to dialogue tables and we talk because we love our children. So, thank you for the time.
Thank you. Next, we have our next opposer to state their points, if you're ready.
Good afternoon, judges. Good afternoon, proposers. Good afternoon, opposers. Good afternoon, timekeeper, chairman, and audience at large. My name is Mika Kawere, and I'm here to tell you why children should not be raised the African way. Let's talk about time. African parents do not keep time at all. Like, I'm telling you, I'm an example. I am a living example. For example, even for students here, some people play sports. They say track practice ends at 4, and then they come at 6, and other people have already left. Sometimes it's embarrassing because you're there, and it doesn't show that you care. You're supposed to keep time. As children go every day and they grow, they watch you and they follow your footsteps. They do many things. But one thing they will learn is to be late. It becomes part of your life. It becomes part of the family. Like how I said for me. When people see you, that's what they know, that you're meant for being late. Most of you guys know me. My family is mostly always late for things. And we're trying to improve.
I would like to disagree with the honorable opposer when she said that Africans don't keep time. I want you to tell me one parent who sat you down and told you never keep time when she was parenting you. That is something you just put in yourself, but it's not our way of parenting. So, point of information.
Let me just finish.
Can I say something, please? You are not supposed to rebuttal her as she's speaking. You have to let her finish talking, then if you have anything else you want to say.
Point of correction, judges.
I will please request you to let her finish.
Okay. But after all of that, it's not okay. We must see that time is important, and we use it every day in our lives. As parents, you're supposed to be a good example for your child. That means being on time. Being on time shows respect to others. It shows that you value other people's time. Growing up in life, growing up as children, you're going to be working with colleagues. And how will they think of you? Will they think of you as that person that never keeps time? They won't value you. They won't value your time. They won't even acknowledge you. My second point of why children should not be raised the African way is that growing up, parents didn't have compassion. Their parents didn't give them the compassion. It was there, but it wasn't really shown. They didn't really have that I love you type thing, or they didn't really hear it growing up. A child needs to be loved. They need to know that their parent loves them. So not only beating them will only show them the correct way, but you also have to love them too, so that there's a relationship with them. Thank you so much, and this is why children should not be raised the African way. I yield my time to my team.
Someone on the proposers team said that they come to dialogue tables and we talk because they love their children. But if you're a kid or a grown up, when's the last time you and your parent got in disagreement and they let you speak your mind out?
I have a point of information, with your permission, of course. Again, I would like to point out what one of the proposers said, that African parents don't know how to love their children. They just beat them. Our love language is different. It's just the love language which is different. We love you, but the love language is different with all cultures. It's like greeting. The Indians bend. For us, it's kneeling. It's just the language, but the love is the same, honestly.
All right. Moving forward, if you have a point of information, address the person speaking, and if they allow it, you go ahead, because it is their time. If they don't, you sit with your point. I would like to call up the next opposer to, proposer, sorry, to state their points, if you're ready.
All protocol observed. Thank you, Madam Chairman, the opposers and the proposers, the judges, and the House at large. I would like to start off by quoting a verse from the Quran. God said, that's Quran chapter 49, verse 13. God said, "O you humankind, I created you into groups and pairs, cultures and tribes, so that you can bond, love, respect each other." That's why I stand to strongly propose the motion that says our children should be raised and groomed the African way. One, culture. I'll kindly request from the audience, Mama, do you mind standing up? Mama putting on a Gomez. See how she is decently dressed and smart. She's the smartest. That's culture. I want you to go out on the street and bring somebody who is smarter than her. Me as an African, I would say that's culture. Decently dressed. Come June, July, you're going to find people halfly dressed, almost naked. You call that decency? No. Decency comes with proper dressing code. I mentioned that. But in culture, as per the quotation I made, we are able to distinguish ourselves just by the word of talking. I can know if I say Jumba, oh, that's a Moganda. Tusime, that's a Munyankore. If I say Nako, I would know that's a Mosoga. Distinguishing between different tribes and cultures. That's African. Okay, tell me how you can distinguish other cultures when you're comparing them with the African way. So with this, we teach our children different cultures, which gives them a sense of belonging than just following things that are not really clearly shown, but we're just copying. We have totems, Ebika, like I said with the names. Jumba belongs to Nchima clan, Sentamu belongs to Mbogo, Mirembe means love, this means this, Tendo means Kasulengeye. How are you going to distinguish other names from other people without having that sense of direction? And also, I would end by making a point of correction from the opposer side, who was saying that African parents love beating. Beating is not a punishment, but beating is grooming, giving you a sense of belonging, a sense of direction. And this is how we express love. I don't beat you because I don't love you. I don't beat you because I'm punishing you, but I'm beating you because I'm educating you. I'm showing you the right thing to do, which is not done all the time. But hey, if you do something wrong and I'm like, oh honey, this is wrong, please don't do that again. The next day I'm gonna find you using drugs. The next day I'm gonna find you having a gun. The next day I'm gonna find you sneaking out of the house because you wanna go to party. But in Africa, we have certain limits and cultures which you're supposed to follow. Thank you so much. I'll leave the remaining minutes for the coming up proposals.
Spare the Lord and spoil the child. We still have more time. All right. I wanted also to address the issue of time that was raised by Micah. Time depends how you use it. Is that the last one? Oh, okay.
Like he said, time depends on how you use it. So, how you use your time now?
Good afternoon, fellow judges. Good afternoon, opposers and proposing team. Good afternoon, the audience and the chairman. Today, I am part of the opposing team that the African way is not the way to go. First off, we can all agree that the audience is filled with children. Why is that? Where are the supportive parents in the African community? We can all agree that the African way is rooted in beatings and supposedly founded by love. One of our proposers stated that they have a love language, and their love language is discipline through hitting, and we don't speak that love language. Why don't the parents translate their love language into a language we understand, which is a hug, which is telling you I love you? Guys, one of our proposing side said that spare the rod, spoil the child. But they forget about Ephesians 6:4 that says, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in love, discipline, and instruction of the Lord. Guys, a child acts the way they do because of their parents. You see, you can interpret the Bible in any way, but in Proverbs 3:5 says, trust in the Lord and lean not on your own understanding. So when one of the proposers said, lead the child in the way they should go and they should not stray from it, it does not mean hit them. It means be the example. It means act the way you want them to act. So this also leads me to the point of hitting the child. There's so many cases in preschools that African kids hit other kids. Why? Because when these children do something wrong, their parents hit them. And do the parents really sit down and explain to their child? If they do, this child would understand why what they did was wrong. And then they wouldn't go around hitting people. But no, these children are hit and dismissed instead of hit and explained to. And that creates a cycle of, why was I hit? The parents don't sit down. They don't actually sit down and tell these children what you did was wrong. They just hit them and dismiss them. And the child must now find out, why did I do this? Why did I get hit? Parents, don't you want to have a relationship with your children? Don't you want them to be like, my father loves me? When you continue to hit them and not explain to them, they're going to be like, everything I do is wrong, so why should I even care anymore? And that's what leads someone to doing drugs. That's what leads someone into feeling hopeless about their lives, because they're getting hit for everything, but they don't know what they're doing wrong. So, with that being said, parents, be an example. Teach and show your children the way to go, and they won't stray from it, as it directly says in Proverbs 26:6. When it comes to beating, it's not just for Africans, but the way you guys beat, you have made it your own. So that's what I mean about beating. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Isabella T. Going back to what my teammate on the fellow opposer side said, African parents, you don't show up for your children. And with that being said, African parenting, it's like a slaveman treatment. For example, when it comes to African parenting, yes, you're teaching us responsibilities, how to fold clothes, do dishes, etc. But why am I taking the time for you to ask me to go get the remote and you're sitting down? What type of responsibility are you teaching me as an African parent? I yield my time to my team.
Replying to someone on the proposing side said, how you interact with others is how how they look, their color is taught well in Africa. If you look at Africa and you look over here.
Point of information to the judges.
Thank you so much. I would like to inform you judges, and this is also a kind and humble request, that the debate turns out to be so boring if you cannot let us interact with our fellow debaters. This is when it is interesting. So this is what my fellow proposers feel.
We do have the rules as per this debate, so you just have to follow them.
Thank you.
And to clarify that rule, your point of information has to be allowed by the person whose time is being used. So if you have a point of information, they allow it because it's their time, and then you can say your point of information, you can interact that way. Let's respect each other during this debate. Next, we have our... You ready? Okay.
Thank you. Several points raised by the opposers. One of them is they mentioned about the generational curses. I don't know what exactly that means, but I guess it's talking about poverty. Poverty is prevalent even here, and more so if you go do a study with our brothers and sisters who were brought here, that you would consider being raised in the modern way. And I don't know what other suggestion you're giving us of raising children. You're just putting down the African way, but you've not offered a solution. But I guess you're talking about the modern way. If you go look at them, the way they are deprived of all opportunities, I don't think we're supposed to go that way. So when you talk about generation curses, that is prevalent even among the Westerns. So that point is addressed. And I want to quote the Bible the way Mirembe quoted it. She quoted it from verse 4, but I want to begin with verse 1. That's how you read the Bible. The Bible says, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 1, children, obey your parents because you belong to the Lord. That's a command. If a parent asks you for a remote, by you getting the remote to them, you're obeying. For this is right to do. That's what the Bible says. Honor your father and mother. This is the first commandment with a promise. So if you want a promise, you just have to obey. Who do you obey? Anyone above you. That's what the Bible commands. Until you get to verse 4, then it encourages fathers not to provoke children to anger. Another point raised by Tendo about compassion. Compassion, what does compassion mean? Having kindness towards somebody. I guess as a traditional African parent, I love my children and I'm raising them in the African way. They are right there. I guess that's the best way to go. Thank you.
All right. We'll be moving on with our next opposer with his points. Please thoughts.
Good afternoon, judges, opposers, proposers, chairman, timekeeper, and House at large. My name is Shamika, and I'm here to propose why children should not be raised the African way. In the article, Africa, the Gospel Coalition, there are two verses they emphasize when it comes to properly raising your child. First, Colossians 3:21. Fathers, do not provoke your children, lest them become discouraged. And another one that my team has said, Ephesians 6:4. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in discipline and instruction of the Lord. Paul did not ask fathers to love or discipline their children. Rather, Paul warns fathers about what to avoid when dealing with their children. One of the major disadvantages of authoritarian parenting is exactly what Paul points out. It is likely to exasperate children and leave them chafing at your authority. It is fine for your child to call you sir, but your relationship with him cannot be as the same as his principal in school. A common problem many Africans is that they are unable to transition towards a more balanced relationship with their adult children. Again, it is okay to give orders to an 11-year-old, but if you are still want to give orders to a 40-year-old, do not be surprised if you're not able to see him or her a few times a year while your relationship remains distant and formal. Parenting is hard work, but thankfully God has not led us without advice how to proceed. We are Africans, so we should celebrate our traditions for raising children. However, our traditions must not be idolized. I yield my time to my team.
Adding on to what my fellow opposer has said, when it comes to discipline, traditional parenting can be overly strict and authoritarian. According to an article called, and I quote, Ask Mom Parenting, this can lead to the children feeling resentful or disrespected, which can lead to behavioral problems and tension in the family. Think about it. When you're spending time with your child and you're yelling at them or beating them, you see how the child starts to flinch or move around? Why is that? Because you're raising your child off fear. Fear. African parenting is based off fear. Adding on, when it comes to modern day parenting, it motivates the child to do better. But by not caring for your child and just letting them be, you wonder why they start to be rebellious due to your actions as an African parent. Thank you. I yield my time to my team.
To continue what my fellow teammate said, she said and talked about fear. Thank you.
All right. I'm pretty sure everyone has gone and said their points, so now we shall be moving on to rebuttals. And we shall be starting with the proposing team with their rebuttals. Please step forward. And to inform everyone in the audience, rebuttals are 2 minutes, so each team will have 2 minutes to rebuttal their point.
Only? Yeah, honorable judges, 2 minutes to rebut 7 people points? That's impossible in any world. I'll kindly request for both teams to grant us 3 minutes to rebut.
2 minutes, please.
Okay, 2 minutes. I want to thank you, honorable judges, the different teams that are proposing. I'm just going to use just a very short time so that I can pass it on to the rest of my team. Let me address just a few points that the team here, the opposing team spoke about. They still haven't said to us what exactly are they promoting. We are promoting the African way. All of their points have been based on here, there, here, there. Which way do you prefer to be parented? Are you the modern way? Is it the Chinese way? Which way are you going up against? Every culture has its own structure that it's based on. So you keep on telling us about all these points based on which way. Which way do you fall in and do you want to be parented? And then I'll come to just another point that the member said that was very interesting. African parents parent based on fear. My dear friends, everything on the world is based on fear. It is tax season in the United States. You do your taxes based on fear. If you don't file them, the government is going to come after you. Everything is based off of fear. If you don't attend your school, you're going to be chased out of school. Everything in the world is based out of fear. Don't show up to work on time. Find out what happens. Okay, you go to school late tomorrow. See what happens. Everything to operate the world is simply based on fear. And then my last point is going to be about individuality. All their points have been said, but it comes down to one simple thing. Who are you? Who are you? We are Africans. Based on where you're opposing from, who are you? We are proposing the African way of how we do things. Other cultures, the Chinese have their own way. The Americans have their own way. The Asians have their own way. All your points have been based off of modern parenting. There is nothing called modern parenting. Every culture has its own structure of parenting. I yield my 30 seconds to my colleague. Thank you so much.
And to score the point further, Iowa State University Digital Press on parenting, they did a research and confirmed that the only way of parenting that can yield higher results, high academic and achievements, and lower behavior and psychological problems is the traditional way, which we are calling the African way. Go and look at all the regions. This is the style they recommend for parenting their children. You go to the military, they use the traditional way of raising children. Thank you. And even private schools.
Right. We have heard from the proposing team with their rebuttals. Next, we'll be going on to the opposing team. Hey.
Hello, audience and judge. One of the proposers talked about a solution. They're telling us that we're saying a lot of things that they do wrong, but we're failing to say what they should do, which parenting style we want. Parenting style should not be labeled. It should just be a good parenting style. Good parenting style is a style of teaching a child to live in a way that a good person should live. It doesn't matter if it's Asian, African, every race should be teaching their child to be a good person. So it doesn't have to be a certain strategy. The results of it should be this person grows up to be a person with integrity and a person who does not fear punishment, but fears bad consequences. And also, they talked about that we're talking about modern parenting. Well, the opposite of African parenting is modern parenting. That's what we're kind of standing for here. But we're not saying that modern parenting, this goes again with labeling. We don't need to label the parenting style. It should just be that parents should be aiming for teaching their children to be good people. And the people in the military, the people who they say that the African style is the best way to go. But let's be real, guys. Many African parents have very robotic relationships with their parents. It's like when you pass the age of 18, you go to college and, hello, mommy, yes, I'm fine, yes, okay, bye. There's no laughter, there's no joy. And that only happens, that laughter and joy comes in for little small things, but there is a lack of strong relationships. And I can see that in a lot of the things I see in my family and what I hear from my fellow age mates. Many of us have weak relationships with our parents because they were founded off of fear. And yes, the world does have fear, but that fear usually pushes us to be better. If you're afraid that you're going to do bad on a test, you're going to study to do better. But this fear of parenting, it just makes us afraid to be near our parents, not afraid to be better people and to have a relationship with our parents. I yield my time to my team. That's it? All right.
Thank you once again. I would like to start off by making corrections to Mirembe, where she said that African parents should find a modern way of grooming and leading their children the best way, but not by beating. The reason why this comes in and why it's been the discussion of the day is because you guys don't listen. If you guys listen, there is no way how parents could come up with that kind of beating. And you don't follow directions. If you say we have to lead or we lead by example, I don't think any parent can want to be a bad leader to their children. So if I lead and my children follow, and I'm an African parent from an African background, I know whatever I'm leading through or whatever I'm going through that I want to tell my children to is the best way. So you should follow. I also want to quote a verse from the Quran that says, this is chapter 4, verse 6, where God says that, oh, you believe I created you and led you to the word of God, prayer, perform the fasting and everything. So how I want to relate this to our children versus the African way of bringing our children is we groom, guide you, and lead you through prayers. That is a strong bond and background. Without that, no parent here wouldn't want their children to have that proper background of prayers. Take an example, myself. I'm a Muslim, but I took my children to a Catholic school. Why? There is that proper culture, which is more like African, not to any other public schools, but to a Christian school, private school, because there is that good grooming and upbringing. And lastly, I want to give an example from the place where we're seated in, Africano. Why do most of you come to Africano every day? Because there is culture. There's proper grooming that is based on an African woman, African ladies and gentlemen that come here every day, that want you guys to be the best for the future. Why Africano is here is supporting our society in the African setup, in the African system. Thank you.
I would like to go back onto what Uncle Kasim was saying. Your point is very hypocritical. How do you expect us to listen to you guys when you don't even listen to us? Your ears are closed. Kids are like a mirror. They are reflections of their parents. And going back to what Auntie Grace said, you said beating is how you show love and keep us straight. However, as a child, how do I learn my lesson from being spanked with a belt or a stick? If you want children to understand their wrongdoings, what about sitting down with them and finding a solution? Why the child is acting this way? transitioning your love in a way it can be understood and mutual, not just us not doing it and you will be beat. No. You may not interrupt my time, but I yield my time to my team.
Authoritative parenting is currently the most encouraging parenting style in America and as well as the most popular. Research has highly ranked this parenting style as one to have more positive outcomes like better academic performance and social emotional well-being in children and adolescents, meaning that children actually can speak to their parents when they have a problem about something, they have a genuine relationship, other than it being their parent commanding them to do chore after complaint. Many African children grow up in homes with little or no outside contact. Traditionally, African parents were very strict and disciplined with their children. These days, it is impudence for a child to have a friendly conversation with his or her parents. I yield my time to my team.
Okay, at this time we'll be taking questions from the audience.
My question is, which discipline method is more effective, American or African?
And where is your question directed to? Both of them?
Yeah.
All right.
Both.
So, like all systems have flaws and good things out for them. So, I would think, as a parent, I can acknowledge there are some bad apples in the basket, and I know they have handled things not in the right way, but following the procedures and cultural values and norms. I think African way is the best because they wish you the best. They are parenting the kid to achieve their best, to have their success, and to have morals. Better than the modern way, which sometimes doesn't bring out the best out of kids. It gives them a lot of freedom, which is unnecessary. And of these days, it's so much on social media, so that doesn't turn out for the kids to be the way God wants them to be.
While he thinks the African way is the best, I know that the modern way is the best because he says that they wish the best for their children, but the way they show it, a child wouldn't understand that. Their language, their love language, doesn't translate into our love language. And I believe that the modern way, when used correctly, it does help children to be both have a relationship with their parents and also be academic scholars. I go to a school where it's majority white people, and these people are brought up in the modern way. Never have they been smacked, never have they been, beaten without them understanding why. And a lot of these children are very motivated to be good kids, to be ace scholars, because their parents have lived as an example. These kids will always repeat and repeatedly say that, hey, you know what? My parent, they did this, they did that. But in the African community, the kids who are of African descent who get these good grades, they say, I don't want to be like my parent. They say that they want to change. So this also incites that the African way needs to be changed, and that's why I know the modern way is better. Thank you.
How come when the proposing side, when they brought up African parenting, they brought up beating? How come, why was that a point that they brought up first when they were associating the African way? Yeah.
When they said, when they're talking about like African parenting and when they were like opposing to it, you guys immediately said beating. Why did that come straight to your head? Like, why was that the first thing that came to your head?
In the Proverbs, the Bible says, spare the rod and spoil the child. So, but it depends how you call beating. I beat my children once because they were not listening, right? I have my girl over there. So if a child, the parent tells you 1, 2, 3 times, you don't listen, the other way is to show you there's something that's going to happen. And I don't think that is abuse. I don't think they take it, in a bad way. So it also depends on the child. If a child has attitude, then things are going to be blown out of context.
I have a question.
And also the Quran says, chapter 4, verse 16, if you're leading them as an example, make sure you lead them through the straight path and guide them through the straight way. If they go astray, guide them, protect them, and groom them a little bit.
My fellow audience, so one of our proposers said that the Bible says spare the rod. You guys' question asked why was beating the first thing that came to their mind. And they're saying that the Bible tells them that it's the first thing that should come to their mind. When actually, it says spare the rod. It does not say fast beat. It does not say fast beat. It says spare the rod. And if you read the Bible, it means you're Christian, right? So God is love. You need to spare the rod with love, not with hatred. And the way you guys use the rod on us, it is not out of love. And we know it's not out of love because it ends up in tears. It ends up in kids rethinking everything about themselves. And we just need to answer your question. I feel like parents think that they think to beating first because, like the generational thing. Their parents, the first thing that they did when this child did something wrong was beat. And so now these parents are also a result of that generational, curricular and cycle, that when they see a child doing something wrong, before they really think about, talking, they beat. And that's why their first answer was to beat. Thank you.
The issue we had is just a translation of words. We translated in Luganda, which we're pretty much, or African parenting, which we are coming up to, when we say about beating, that's in my own language. Now, we translated that directly into beating. But our own side, practically what we are saying, to parenting, there is a part that is called physical grooming. Beating was just a direct translation from the language that we speak. But the beating that you're talking about is just the physical grooming part of parenting. So it's not specifically that if I want to parent you, the first thing I think of is to beat. But in parenting, in the whole context of parenting, there's a physical grooming aspect. Thank you.
Okay, to clarify, this has just been brought to my attention. When the question is asked, each person will have 30 seconds to answer the question, just for the sake of time. But we'll be moving on to the next question.
For context, I'm Christian. But I'm curious, every time you mention African, you mention Islam and Christianity. But I would argue that African has nothing to do with Islam or Christianity. Because prior to Islam and Christianity, what you're saying, what you're calling the African tradition, they had their own religions. I think to back up your points, use true Africanness, not the modern Christianity and Islam that we are studying that was brought into Africa. Thank you.
No society that exists without religion. So, as just we are here, we have Muslims, we have Christians, and other religions I don't know. So there's no way you're going to disassociate us from religion. And when you talk about religion in every society, even right now in the modern way, there's something they believe in. So belief is part of human beings.
I've always spoken to young people about how disciplining them physically by, beating. When a parent disciplines you with a slap or a load, it's better and it comes with love than when she or he or both of them leave you to go out and be disciplined by the world. I want to be clear on that one. When your mother or your father or whoever takes care of you beats you or speaks harshly but brings out the point that they want you to be a well-behaved, to be a good person, it is because they don't want you to go out there and be disciplined by the world. Mine is not a question, but I want them to go with this. It's not about beating or how we do it, but do you prefer to be disciplined with love by your parents or to be disciplined harshly by the world? Thank you.
I have a quick question. It's a question, but then it goes back to the African way of parenting and beating, I'll say. I read a book, and this person is talking about like how to raise up our kids. This is a white man. And then he talks about beating, but at the age of 10, he says, do not beat your kids if they're above the age of 10. So if parents are disciplining us, maybe like, okay, if I'm going to beat my daughter, I want to beat her in her bedroom by herself, not with everyone present. But I'm going to explain to her that, you know what, Jen, this is what you did wrong. And I'm not just going to be beating her all the time because, like, you know, I'm an African parent. No. But the thing is, it takes a process of me getting to that point. I don't think our parents just like spank us just because, like, you know, like you're sitting there, it's like, hey, I'm gonna spank you. It's a process of what they're going through, telling you.
So here in America, beating is criminal. Here in America, in this Western region. But I feel like you guys could have used a different word. Like instead of beating, it would have been slapping. Because at least we know that thinking, because at least we know that form of discipline is something we're used to or we've been through.
For sure, that what she's saying is very, very true for all the parents that now we're trying to learn something new. If you claim I beat my children, you're doing actually an offense by law. We are supposed to spank as the word stands. So by definition, you could, find it out what it is and what it is. All right?
Right now, we'll be moving on to closing statements. We shall be starting with the proposing side with their closing statement. If you're ready, please step forward.
Our distinguished debaters, distinguished judges, parents, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank you all for your participation and the valuable contributions you have made. Thank you very much. I would like to start by referring to you opposers that you focused a lot on describing the African way of bringing up children as one whereby, there's strict ways of disciplining, beating, and stuff like that. But for us, I think we would like to describe the African way of bringing up children as the one that's community-based and one that allows, members of the community to be involved and using a lot of cultural practices to bring up, our children. And so I'm going to emphasize the advantages of this African way of bringing up kids based on these descriptions. Community-based. Community-based is a way that is very important to us because it's going to give you identity. I have a question for you parents. Do you want to raise a child who lacks identity? I challenge you to think about this. How is it if you know you always be important to a certain group of people with whom you share values? They'll always be there for you through thick and thin, at whatever stage in your life, however successful, regardless of if you are successful in your life or not, you will never have to worry about being alone in the world because you've been brought up in a culture that emphasizes community roles and respect. So much as you can blame the African way of bringing up children, we want you to know that you are focusing on those things that you feel like they are harsh. But for us, we describe it as a community-based way of bringing you up, which will be able to help you to overcome situations in this world like future loneliness and indiscipline. Okay? So finally, I would like to say that much as we say our African way of bringing up children to be effective, there needs to be a balance. There's need for middle ground, and this can be done by, this can be done by, giving you more time and, balancing the way we discipline you. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone, again. My name is Isabella T. So, as we review what my team and I have mentioned, the final message we would like to convey is, as parents, you must understand when to change your parenting strategy. As African parents, you must recognize and fully comprehend exactly what your children require. It is also your obligation to instill in children the fundamental religious knowledge and values that will help guide them and factuate their way of life as they get older. You are your child's safe haven. And with modern parenting, we know that they can make this possible because modern parenting, they're like a sturdy rock, the pillar of strength you need. And with that note, we should all agree, including the proposers, that it is better to raise kids in America than in Africa. Thank you, Chairman, team, and my judges.
And I think that concludes our debate for today for now.
I was very surprised that when we all went in there, this was the first thing we talked about. I'm going to give this prize. The #1 prize is going to go to the children. And I'm going to give you the reason as to why it's going to the children. Parents, you were very, very disrespectful. You really interrupted the children so much. You are giving us ideas. Can we have a minute? You had a very hard time working under authority. When you come in a place and they tell you 2 seconds, let it be 2 seconds. When they tell you, please stop, you stop. The gravel was going for the time, and the parents would really had to push and say 1, 2, 3, 4 more words. Because really, I'm very passionate when it comes to discipline and being respectful, and I am really proud that the children really delivered very well, and for that they are taking the first prize. Will you come over here? And I just want to take this honor, and I'm really proud of you, really. You've come a long way. I've been with you for quite some time, and I'm very happy that you have been listening. Before, when it were the children versus children, respect and non-interrupting was a problem for them, and this time you have really displayed very well, and that is why you've taken the winning trophy. I've always told you. Thank you very much, and congratulations. And also, this envelope goes to the #1 team. Thank you so much. You're making us very proud, and Africano is doing a very wonderful job. And again, I want to give the second trophy to the parents because, to be honest with you, we are all a work in progress, and to see that we have called upon parents and they have come to debate with you children and they're willing to listen. I'm telling you, they are going to change, I really honor, and I want to say thank you very much. Okay. On behalf of look at the parents smiling. I like it. On behalf of Africano, on behalf of the children, on behalf of the community, we want to give you the #2 prize. I just want to say thank you because, to be honest, it is very tough when it comes to debating parenting skills, especially we parents who come from Uganda. For you to come up and really be part of this, we don't take it for granted. We really appreciate you. Thank you very much. You're most welcome.
If you stayed with us for all this song, thank you. If you're new to the channel, we have conversations that matter. Please subscribe and share the video for those that they will love the content. And if you feel like you've learned something or two. I am Bryan. Today it has been Kids Dialogues. Thank you.